Welcome to Duck Season Somewhere podcast. This episode is brought to you by the following sponsors. GetDucks.com, your proven source for the very best waterfowl hunting adventures. Argentina, Mexico, 6 whole continents worth. For 2 decades, we've delivered real duck hunts for real duck hunters. And USHuntlist.com, because the next great hunt is closer than you think. Search our database of proven U.S. and Canadian outfits. Contact them directly with confidence. Trust is earned. By the numbers, 121 waterfowl subspecies bagged on 6 continents, 20 countries, 36 U.S. states, and growing. I spend upwards of 225 days per year chasing ducks, geese, and swans worldwide. And I don't choose shotguns for the brand name or the cool factor. Y'all know me way better than that. I've shot Benelli for over 2 decades. I continue shooting Benelli shotguns for their simplicity, utter reliability, and superior performance. Whether hunting near home or halfway across the world, that is the stuff that matters. Sit means sit and stay until it doesn't. No matter how well or how often trained, retrievers want those ducks as badly as we do, maybe even more. Chardog might be titled, but she's still just a dog. I'm over 50 years old and I still do dumb stuff, trust me. Retrievers are family. I wouldn't endanger my children near heavy traffic, and I'm not going to risk my dog jumping in front of blazing guns either. Gundog Outdoors' patented quick-release safety system is fully adjustable, tethers to any blind or stand, has titanium stakes for frozen ground, and a quick-release marine-grade shackle to quickly release Fido when the smoke clears. Visit GundogOutdoors.com. Connect with them on Instagram at Gundog Outdoors to see their growing line of Gundog safety and performance products. Enter hashtag GetDucks to receive 15% discount off of your first order. Boss Shot Shell's copper-plated bismuth tin alloy is the good old days again. Steel shot's come a long way in the past 30 years, but will never, ever perform like good old-fashioned lead. Say goodbye to all that gimmicky, high recoil, compensation, science, hype, and hello to superior performance. Know your pattern, take ethical shots, make clean kills. That is the boss way. The good old days are now. It really is duck season somewhere for 365 days per year. Duck season somewhere takes me year-round to worldwide destinations where I visit with the most interesting people. I'm your host, Ramsey Russell. Join me here to listen to those conversations. Welcome back to Duck Season Somewhere. Final episode from California. And it's been a haul. It's been about a 2-week haul, and we have covered some ground. I have seen some amazing sights. I've met some amazing people. I've uncovered incredible waterfowl history and tradition and culture, and intense culture out here in California. In no small part to today's guest, my friend, Jon Wills. How are you, John? Tired, I know, 'cause we've been getting after it, man.
I am tired. I'm not used to this, not like you.
No, I mean, how often do you hunt a week normally?
I'd say on average 2 days a week. I hunt. We have shoot days out here in California on most of the clubs here in the grasslands and on the wildlife areas. We shoot Wednesday, Saturday, Sundays. But
shoot days.
Correct.
You know, as leading up to this trip, us talking on the phone and carrying on, you kept talking about shoot days. I'm like, what do you call a shoot day? I didn't understand a shoot day, but that's a big thing out here.
Yeah.
Y'all got a 107-day season, but very few properties in the whole state are open 107 days.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
None of the clubs, I'm thinking.
No, not
very,
here. I mean,
very few.
The Sacramento Valley, the Butte Sink, those clubs, some of those clubs shoot 7 days a week. But, you know, where you hunted at Butte Creek Farms, they're not shooting 7 days a week.
No. Nobody I've met is they talk about shoot days, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
You know, we're sitting here in a 100-year-old hunting camp. And we got here this morning, last day of the trip. We were coming in for cinnamon teal. You said we're going to my camp. And I've been to some camps and I've been to some lodges. COVID really put a stick in our spokes, and we'll talk about that. But, man, to walk into the door of this camp house today and see a dozen men huddled up drinking coffee, you could tell who the clique, who knew each other, and who hunted together a lot. They were just kind of huddled up and talking about duck hunting or life or nothing at all. And man, it was so familiar. I've seen that scene unfold nationwide, worldwide. It's just coming into a hunting camp right here in California, and that was, I guess, just because we got to really come into a not fully functioning, but into a hunting camp environment. That just really hit home for me today. Kind of made me homesick. I was glad today was the last day, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
John, for a man that hunts 2 days a week on average, what do you think you were getting into when we set this thing up for a 12 or 13 day haul?
A whole lot of fun. Yeah. That's what I knew we were getting into.
A whole lot of fun. We had a whole lot of fun, didn't we?
Oh, we did. It was a blast.
You ducked out on me a couple of days. One day,
yep.
your daughter's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
One day, some work related because your dad had been dealing with COVID, and but you were with me the rest of the time.
Yep.
And what do you think about that? That's a quantum leap to go from 2 days a week to 12, 13 day stretch with just a day or two off.
Yeah. No, it was fun. I've done some stretches before, but I don't know about 12 days. I've probably done 10.
What do you think about doing 90 or 100 days straight?
I don't know. Part of me feels like after a while you get your sea legs under you and it gets easier. You get into a rhythm, easier. Right?
You get into a rhythm. Of course, I'm in bed at 7:30, 8 o'clock every night. I noticed you noticed that.
Yeah.
I started to fade around 7:30, 8 o'clock. 3 o'clock comes early.
Yeah.
3, 4 o'clock. We were getting up. I think every time I was here. One day I got up set my alarm for 2:45, and I guess that's the day we hunted the public.
Yeah.
And rest of the time I slept in until about 3:30, and that wasn't too bad. As long as I got my sleep.
Yeah.
I need my beauty sleep.
That's
all I
right.
can get. Look, here's where I want to start with you, John. How old are you? 38, 36. How long have you been duck hunting?
Probably, I'm going to say 16 years, 17 years.
Nearly half your life.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't grow up hunting.
How did you grow up? Surfing?
No, we did a lot of – there's no surfing around here, as you can see. We did, we did a lot of skiing, snow skiing, water skiing, that type of thing. And then I played the normal sports kids play when they're young, but.
Played golf a lot with your daddy?
Later in life, I played golf. My dad played a lot of golf. I didn't as a kid. I always told myself I'll play that when I get old.
Yeah.
So here I am playing golf.
I'm not going to play it old. I am old, and I'm not going to play golf. How did you get into duck hunting then? You started probably when you were 18, 19, 20 years old. Yeah. I did too. How did you get into duck hunting out here in California?
Well, I was living with my best friend at the time, Josh, and he comes from a long line of duck hunters. And I don't even know how it came about, but I know I ended up out there hunting, and I was hooked from the.
Tell me about how that came to be. And I know you're talking about Josh Higuera.
Yeah.
And who we hunted with yesterday at Mendota. But how did that even come to be? And tell me about that first hunt.
Well, I don't remember how it came to be, but I remember we hunted Mendota. We did not have a reservation. And so we got there.
You were in the sweat line.
We were in the sweat line. So we got there on Wednesday, probably midday around lunchtime. We slept in a tent. And that way we could have our truck in line for Saturday. So we spent Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night in a tent. And you saw that parking lot. They don't allow camping this year because of COVID, but it's just a dirt parking lot in Flatland, California. And our opening day, it could be 80 degrees. So it's warm and dusty, and I wouldn't do it again. But we had a lot of fun, and we played horseshoes and all that. And my first memorable part of that hunt was Josh and his dad go out to save the spot. Josh's little brother Dalton was with me, and we were bringing the gear, and we get to the pond, and he goes, "Hey, the pond bombs are kind of slippery. You need some help." And he's maybe 12 at the time, And here I am, 20 or so, 19, I don't exactly remember. And I'm thinking, man, I don't need any help from you. You're 12, And he goes, "Well, the pond's just slippery. I'm not saying that." Get out of my way. I took 2 steps. I landed flat on my back, soaking wet, blind bags floating, guns soaked, and all Josh can hear probably from the blind is me yelling for his little brother, come help me, pick my gun up, pull my blind bag out of the water, And, that was – and I remember thinking once we got to the blind, I just remembered the sky just being black with ducks, to the best of my memory. I'm sure it's just like other opening days we've had here. But at the time, as a non-hunter, I've never seen wildlife like that or waterfowl and those type of numbers.
Up close and personal.
Oh, it was.
Y'all did not warn me about the slippery bottom yesterday, but I stepped into enough duck holes to ease into them.
Yeah.
And figure it out. But that mud underneath that shallow water, slippery as a wet bar soap, it's like somebody poured baby oil into the bottom of a tile bathtub.
Yeah.
And I was slipping and sliding. I was just trying, if I could just keep my foot in one place, like Bambi on the ice.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be that guy.
But you get down far enough, and then it starts to get sticky. It
starts to get sticky. It starts to grab you a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know where to start. Do you remember your first duck?
I don't, but Josh might. But I'm sure it was a spoonie.
Yeah.
We shot a whole bunch of them that day, and I remember I shot a whole bunch of shells before I shot one. And you're only allowed 25 shells on your person at a time on public land in California. Mendota, you're allowed to go back.
Rule.
Yeah, and some refuges, Merced, they don't allow you to go to your truck and refill. It's 25 for the day. But Mendota, you can get more shells out of your truck. But I remember I shot all of mine and probably all of Josh's, not very long into shoot time. I remember I shot 3 really fast and really often. And, I didn't know. So, yeah, it took me a while to learn to slow down.
I've sure had a good time hunting with you out here, John, and I greatly appreciate your hospitality. Do you remember how we even met or got to know each other leading up to this incredible 2-week adventure in California?
Well, it's been a lot of fun. I hope we do it again. This has been awesome.
Oh, we are.
But I think we met. I contacted you about a Rio Salado duck hunt in Argentina.
Oh, way back when.
Yeah, and that's always been on my list of things to do. And I remember you advertising it as the duck hunter's duck hunt.
It certainly is.
And you described it as being at a camp similar to this, and kind of feeling at home, except for maybe what duck hunting was like here in the 1800s.
That's right.
And it's 130 square mile marsh. And,
that's right.
There's lots of duck hunts you can do, but I thought, it'll be like a slice of home with a whole bunch of ducks. And I thought that's right up my alley, a duck camp with real ducks.
In terms of this marsh environment, like we hunted this morning, it's going to feel an incredible amount like home. I mean, because it is a marsh, and it's got matera grass very similar to y'all's tules. In fact, all my West Coast clients call them tules when they're wading up in them.
Yeah.
It's going to – this morning especially, that little impoundment we hunted reminded me a lot of hunting Rio Salado, just the nooks and crannies and the little chutes through the tules, and it just really – the way we set up, the way we hid, everything about that reminded me of Rio Salado. And coming from Mississippi, that's totally different than how we hunted home.
Yeah, totally different environment,
a marsh. And but no, I think you're gonna think you died and went to heaven when you did that.
Yeah, that was probably, I don't know, 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really remember, but it's been years, and it's something that me and Josh and some other friends have always talked about doing. And we haven't been yet, but I'm sure looking forward to May.
Yep. COVID really stuck a stick in our spokes coming out here to California. Just because, we had initially planned on staying at this and other camps or lodges or people's houses. And certainly we would have grilled on the Traeger grill out here in your backyard or gone into restaurants, and that hasn't been the case at all, man. I mean,
no.
To my knowledge, none of the restaurants nobody has in-house dining.
No, and even outdoor dining here is not allowed.
Supposedly, your governor has prohibited it. And some of the counties, some of the counties out here have disputed it, and there is outside dining. But when it's 38 to 45 degrees and breezy, that's not very enjoyable.
Next week it's supposed to rain every day, so
yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun.
Outside. Yeah, I feel real bad for the restaurant owners.
So it seems like 2 years ago that I showed up. It's been such a hectic, nonstop grind. When I think back to stepping off the airport in Fresno and meeting you at the curb, that just seems like a childhood memory. And we went to Cecilia's.
Yeah.
And got burritos.
Yeah, in Mendota.
And that's when I figured out y'all had burritos dialed in. California has got burritos dialed in. And I'm now an expert because for the last 12 or 13 days, I've eaten them every single day.
And anybody listening to this podcast that's ever going to hunt with you, Ramsey does not like rice in his burritos, and he wants chopped jalapenos.
I do not like rice in my burritos, and I definitely want fresh jalapenos.
That's right.
But you know, it's the first one we ate had rice, and it was good. But it was as big as a cinder block. I remember, we ordered a couple of burritos.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking burrito, like about twice the size of a tamale or something. And as she handed me that bag, it felt like she put a cinder block inside it.
We weren't at Taco Bell, were we?
I said, "Are you sure this is our order?" "Oh, yeah, it's ours." Man, I couldn't even get my hands around it with both hands. It was just massive.
Yeah.
And but burritos, being as we're eating on tailgates of trucks every day or out in the duck hole, it turned out to be a great meal. I mean, I thought this morning when I woke up, I said, I ain't eating no more dang burritos. I'm tired of burritos. And we went down here to this little hole in the wall, and that was one of the best burritos of the trip.
Yeah.
I greatly enjoyed that lunch today.
No, that was good.
But now, guess what? I'm going to Mexico next week. I ain't eating no burrito. I'm going to tell you right now, I ain't eating no burrito.
Well, you're going to Mazatlan, so I imagine you're going to be eating a lot of seafood.
I'm going to be eating tons of seafood. That's a fact. John, have you ever hunted? Have you ever hunted out there on San Francisco Bay for those golden eyes and divers?
I have. Yeah, I've done it. I did it 2 days, and I went with Andrew Forker, who we hunted with, and it was great. We hunted with Northwind Outfitters. His name's R.J. Waldron, and we shot a bunch of surf scoters one day, and the next day we went and hunted golden eyes off of an island, and
I haven't hunted with him.
Pretty spectacular.
I have not hunted with him. But I know I hunted with Charlie Barberini.
Yeah.
Who invited our buddy Corey Foskett from Tangle Free.
Yeah.
And talk about welcome to California. That was some of the most different hunt. I've done divers and sea ducks.
Yeah.
But never there.
Yeah.
The weather was relatively mild. One of my friends, Ray Hathaway, was there on business. He showed. I'm like, hey, how you doing? We go out, and it was so fast paced.
Oh, yeah.
It was almost chaotic. Charlie ran his beautiful little dog. I had mine. We ran 2 dogs. Birds dying, birds coming in, birds left, birds right, birds overhead. He just dialed us in and put us on the edge.
Well, Charlie's got that operation dialed in.
Oh, he has got it dialed
yeah.
in. And besides that, he's just a fun guy.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to getting together with him sometime soon.
Yeah.
I wish I could have been there.
When I come out here next year, you're going to have to come with me. Yeah. I'm definitely going to put Charlie back on my on my bucket list.
For sure. One of the cool things I remember about the diver hunt was the day we were hunting the island, and Andrew and I were standing there, and this big group of golden eyes, they come over the bridge high, and they come over the bridge, and they dip straight down. They're heading right towards our decoys. And it was just really cool. I never thought I'd be hunting in the San Francisco Bay, watching a wad of golden eyes come up high, dip down over the bridge, and start heading towards our decoys with the bridge right in the background. I mean, that's just a sight that I'll probably never forget. It was really unique to duck hunting here in California.
Yeah, no, that was a extremely memorable morning. Just sometimes you wake up, and I never take it for granted. But as the sun came up, out front, man, a golden eye. I mean, just left, right, all which ways coming in. But back behind us, the Diablo Mountains. And it was just incredible. It's like right on the edge of all these millions of people.
Yeah.
And you get just 10 minutes in a boat away from it, and you're just out in the middle of nowhere. It seemed like just this wildness.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. Charlie had that thing dialed in, but I went back to the hotel, unpacked, changed clothes, did whatever, loaded the van, and he picked me up, and we went to downtown San Francisco, Hyde-Asbury, and He gave me the grand tour, everything he knows, Panhandler Park and everything else. Now, boy, I tell you what, that was anything but out there on San Francisco Bay. Over the Golden Gate Bridge and through the town and by the Fisherman's Wharf and everything else. Wow. But hey, man, for a guy from Mississippi, that was extremely interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I would maybe go back there. In fact, I know I would. It's got some very nice parts and interesting history and a beautiful city. And
it is.
Yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat. And then the next day, you did join me, and you came and scooped me up kind of early, and we went down and hunted with Dylan and Jonathan White. And I knew them boys off Instagram.
Yeah.
And I'd seen the videos, I'd seen the pictures. They told me we were going to shoot Aleutians and snow geese. But, man, that in terms of just sheer spectacle of birds landing at our feet, that might be one of the best hunts I've been on in forever. I mean, a long time.
It's the best goose hunt I've been on in my life.
I've been on some good ones. That was certainly unforgettable.
Yeah. I mean, we've shot big numbers of geese before other places, but just the way the White brothers have it dialed in, I mean, down to their decoy spread, the decoys that they're using, they're into the minor details. And that really made a difference. Those birds were committed. They were close. You know, they weren't shooting a swing bird.
No, they weren't shooting swing birds. They weren't shooting big flocks. And,
no.
You know, Jonathan and I were talking on the phone as I was driving, God, one of the thousands of miles I drove up and down Highway 99, Interstate 99. We were talking on the phone, and he's like, no, we're not going to shoot in the big flocks.
Yeah.
Because it's a very finite population of these geese, and we don't want to educate them. You know, so a lot of the birds we see tomorrow are going to get a pass. And then we'll pick up the loose flocks and singles and pairs and whatnot like that. And that's exactly what we did. And, you know, I don't know how many geese that was we cleaned on their tailgate, their truck back at their house, but it was a pile of them. It wasn't far from a limit. But, you know, what would we have done with 120 dead geese?
Yeah.
You know, it took us a while to skin all those birds we had. But that was extremely, that was extremely memorable. And, boy, again, we went to some little dirt road town and got a burrito.
Stevenson, California.
Woo, man, it was dirt road. We could have been in Mexico for all I knew.
Yeah.
It was just it's so rural and so remote. It was as country as anywhere in America except maybe middle of Wyoming. And that was a great. That may have been my favorite burrito.
Yeah, that was excellent.
That was an excellent one.
And like you said, I mean, if you showed a picture of where we were eating, where we were hunting, people never think of California being in a setting like that.
No. It's almost, you know, it reminded me of a scene out of Breaking Bad. You know how they would have the B-roll with the tumbleweed rolling by and the dust blowing and just dirt roads like down the border around. That's what it reminded me of. But we were in Central California.
Yeah. You
know, just out in the middle of nowhere, farming country. It was nothing but it was cattle country is what it was.
Yeah.
You know, dairies and beef and, wow. Nothing like, and I knew, that's day 2 into a long stretch, and I knew I was in for a treat. I knew, wow, I'm the more I scratch the surface, the different things seem.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And what did I do? What did I even do the next day? I know what I did. I got in that gray minivan and drove back up to Yuba City and met with Casey Stafford.
Yeah.
And Yuba City's a pretty big old town. I'm going to say there's 35,000, 40,000 folks. And but the craziest thing, again, like Twilight Zone crazy, is I woke up this nice hotel, comfortable. It was a Hilton or Hampton Inn or something. And I woke up and there was rooster crowing.
Yeah.
Roosters plural crowing.
Yeah, there's a lot of them right there.
Well, I didn't know that.
I hit one in the Starbucks drive-thru once on accident.
I'm listening. I'm thinking, man, you know, whatever it was, 3:35. It wasn't that late because whatever it was, 4:35. I'm thinking, man, it must be like some old houses, just some people living around this shopping center I'm at. And I walk out to my truck, and there's 5 roosters and 10 hens. And a crepe myrtle or some kind of tree right there at the entrance of the Hampton Inn. I look up and I can see these chickens flopping and crowing. And there's a parking lot. Now, you know how they'll space out like Bradford pears around all the parking lot? for shade up in a asphalt. Every one of them across the ray. 20 acres of dang chickens and roosters up in these trees. I'm like, what in tarnation is going on around here?
I know. And
but
I don't know how
there's
they got
some thriving populations of chickens in Yuba City.
Yeah, because that Starbucks where I hit the one in the drive-thru, I think it's on 99 in Franklin, so it's a couple blocks down from that hotel. And I don't know how they got there. I'd love to know. It's
somebody, you hear different things.
It's out of place.
Somebody said there was a chicken farm, a poultry something or another somewhere on the edge of town at some point in time, and they shut down and maybe turned a bunch loose. and then some of the bleeding hearts or some of the city women, kind of took up with them. But somebody was pointing out to me. One of the boys I hunted with, we were driving around town. He was pointing out, because there are literally chickens everywhere.
Yeah,
at the red light, in the city parks, and at the hotel, in the shopping center, in the grocery. They're everywhere, like everywhere.
Yeah.
And you'll see where people lay out pans of water and feed, everywhere, and I all I can think is anybody goes hungry in this town, it's their own dang fault. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's almost like, you think the city council would just have it be the, self-proclaimed chicken and dumpling capital of the world, kind of keep them thin. And, of course, my way I like to eat chicken eggs, all I can think is, man, a couple of 5-gallon buckets, and I'd never have to go to Kroger and buy chicken eggs again. There's got to be eggs everywhere.
That's
have
right.
that many chickens. So you hit one in Starbucks one time.
I did.
You just keep driving. You didn't get out and make a big deal of it, did you?
Gosh, no. I was going to Murdoch Gun Club to meet Andrew, where we hunted while you were here, and I rolled through there to grab a coffee on my way to his club, and yeah, it was dark, and I was whipping through, pulling into their drive-thru, and yeah, I clipped one.
That was had a great hunt with Casey and his son.
Yeah.
That was my first morning there in Sac Valley. We hunted rice fields over by Delavan Refuge. It was a real foggy morning, and I don't remember how many birds we killed. Killed a goose and a mess of birds. A bunch of birds. I don't think we shot a limit, but golly, man, y'all's limit is 7 ducks.
Yeah.
That's a lick. It's doable. I know a lot of places, a lot of times, but that's a lot of birds.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most overlooked parts about hunting in California, but the West Coast especially, is our limits and length of season, I think.
Right. It was a good time with Casey, and got to visit with him and his family and hear a lot. In fact, he and I recorded a podcast that came out a few weeks ago, and then you set me up to hunt with where did I hunt after Casey? I think the day after Casey I hunted. You know what? I was supposed to hunt with somebody back down here in Grasslands, and it fell through, and that turned out to be one of my favorite days. They were all favorite days. I'm not picking favorites. I'm just saying it was memorable from a standpoint that a young man first, and then his father, Sean and Gus Doherty, from Dunnigan, California.
Yeah.
They're rice producers, and different farmers reached out to me, and I said, hey, well, have you got room? They go, yeah. And we showed up and shot our pintail limits. That was easy. Shot some widgeons. But when we got done, we walked back, and Sean said, what are you doing for lunch? I said, well, I don't got any plans. Burrito, probably. And
no rice.
But see, that morning as we were, we got there 20 minutes before shooting time. That morning, he showed up with a couple of breakfast burritos that his wife had made, egg and cheese and habanero chipotle sauce and elk venison sausage, and that was a dead gum good burrito. I usually don't eat that early in the morning, but I ate one, and I wanted my other one.
Yeah.
He brought two. I'm like, I'll go ahead and throw that other one down here. I'll make room for it.
You can't pass up a hot breakfast burrito.
Heck no, man. Great hunt, great setup, and really cool. Those little pit blinds they use are really set up nicely. But we went back to his house, and he and I and his buddy Seth, we hand plucked those birds. And he said, I said, they make duck plucking machines. He goes, yeah, I know, but my granddad did it this way, my dad did it this way, I do it this way. And he said, those mechanical are kind of beat the fat off these things sometimes. And he said, I like to hand pluck them. So we hand plucked them. It didn't take no time.
Yeah.
One beer's worth to each hand pluck a few birds. And, man, those pintail, they were the fattest little things, those widgeons, fattest little things I've ever seen. I mean, they were the fattest ducks I've ever laid my hands on. And they've got a real unique recipe. We posted up and put it in our Instagram highlights.
I saw that.
And grilled it. And, man, I'm going to tell you what, that was some of the best duck I've ever eaten all time ever in my life. And, and here with COVID going on, not going into restaurants, no good steakhouses, camp houses shut down. Man, we sat out there at his farm headquarters and did that. And that was pretty dang good. Had a great time. And what did I do next? Let me think. The next day, I went hunting with Grant Tark. And that was, it's funny how you go to different camps and different traditions and different people in different places, little nuances. And that was a real classical butte sink marsh hunt. You had told me. But we drove out to their little family property. 5, 6 generation, again, family.
The Tarkies have been there a long time.
Just like the Dohertys. I mean, they're 5th generation rice producers.
Yeah.
And this farming. And we go out and I meet his uncles and we suit up there in this little camp house they got, sign out and drive a little bit, jump in a boat and ride out through this beautiful marsh.
Yeah.
And it was great. We hunted in a blind that his dad, a floating blind that his dad built 30-something years ago. That's incredible.
It is. And you have an incredible view of the buttes,
man,
from his farm.
The smallest mountain range in the world.
That's right.
Sutter Butte, right there.
Yeah.
You're literally in the shadow of it.
Yeah.
And it was a slow day. They didn't just kill it, but it's a beautiful, beautiful property. The sun starts coming up and you're just looking around. And it's just one of those moments you just stop and you just take it in.
Yeah.
You just sit there and just take it in like, man, this is spectacular. And he had told me, he said his granddaddy used to tell him no matter what the duck hunt's like, every day starts with $1 million view. And that was about $1 million view. I'm going to tell you that was as pretty a view as I ever saw when that sun was coming up over that Sutter Butte.
Yeah, I think about that a lot when I'm in the marsh. It's here I am right outside of town and all these views I never would have experienced had I not been duck hunting.
No, none of us would.
No, I mean, you just get to see nature and God's creation at work firsthand 2 or 3 days a week. I mean, I feel fortunate, and every hunter should, to see what we get to see and experience on a weekly basis.
Hunter, everybody should.
Yeah.
You just don't get to see that bird watching like you do this here.
And think about all the great people you've met through hunting and the relationships you've made and everything else.
Just the people I've met right here in California this week. And that's why I try to get everybody to jot their name down on a decoy, and I try to take notes, and I try to memorialize the event and tell a story in Instagram because it's a little daunting.
Yeah.
But that's everywhere I've been this year. California was the 21st state I duck hunted this season. Hundreds of people I've met and had contact with and hunted with. And it just from Delaware to California, it is an absolute amazing fraternity that we're in. And we all appreciate going out and seeing that stuff.
Well, duck hunting is a different fraternity than other types of hunting,
I guarantee you it is. Very social.
Yeah.
Very social sport, just our friendship. Some of the stories we've had, some of the things we've shared in a duck blind, the people we've shared it with, And then the next morning, you and I hunted together with Scott Feist. Now that was a wow. That was a morning.
Oh yeah, that was back in Dunnigan.
For a week preceding, everybody kept talking about some big win, some big win, some big win.
Yeah, that's important in the
Santa
race.
Maria win. I'm like, man, get out of here. I mean, the wind had been blowing 10, 11 miles an hour. Oh, no, big wind. I was talking to somebody called to ask about Mexico, and he had an Idaho number. And as we're talking, he was down in the grasslands. Well, I drove all the way down from Idaho because this big wind's coming, man. We're supposed to have us some ducks. I go, man, I can't wait till in the morning. 'Cause I stepped out about a 10-mile-an-hour wind. When I woke up, buddy, the wind was blowing.
40 miles an hour that day.
Yeah, 40-mile-an-hour gust.
Yeah.
And boy, was it blowing, and we almost had
It's
to
tough shooting in that wind, though.
Oh, my gosh.
You know, that's not a cakewalk.
Walking to that blind in a headwind, I felt like I had to put rocks in my pocket just to keep from blowing backwards, you know. And that was a shoot. That was a good shoot. I was glad. I was glad I shoot ball shot shells, number one. I was glad I sent number 4s, not 5s or 6s or 7s, number 2. And I think you and I both choked up to a tighter choke just to keep those patterns
I was shooting
good.
improved modified boss shot shells, 3-inch 4s.
And I was shooting 2 3/4-inch 4s with improved modified. And was glad I had it. But even with that tighter choke, the way those birds worked, you got 1, maybe 2 trigger pulls, and they stretched their wings and caught that wind, and they were gone.
Oh yeah, and
I mean, in between shot 2 and 3, they had faded 30 yards.
Oh yeah, and if one gets clipped, I mean, it's going over the check.
It's going.
That's the other thing about shooting a. You know, I think if people take the time to pattern their guns, shoot the right load. What an important part of the day that was, not chasing cripples all over the rice in a 40-mile-an-hour wind.
Yeah.
I mean, a 40-mile-an-hour wind, they would have been over the check in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm. What we shoot that day? I remember, you know, shooting your pintails in California is out in those rice fields.
Yeah. That was a sight that day.
Most days, that's a pretty foregone conclusion. At least my experience, my limited experience hunting out in the rice fields when I was here, which was atypical, which we'll talk about in a minute, for this time of year, pintails were kind of a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, yeah. And how many pintails did we see just sitting in that blind?
Thousands.
Yeah, or when we were at Murdoch.
Thousands.
You know, they're
thousands. We saw thousands.
It's hard to believe there's a shortage when you're sitting in a California rice blind.
But that particular morning, we also got in the widgeons real good.
Yeah, we shot a few mallards.
We shot a few mallards, but the widgeons really cooperated.
Yeah.
And I know we left with some heavy straps that day, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a great hunt. And Scott, he has a great operation going there. Great blinds, good decoys, good calling. It was a true pleasure to hunt with Scott.
And speaking of Murdoch, the next day, that night we drove up and we met your buddy Deke.
Yeah.
And we
ate. For a burrito.
a dang good burrito, I might add.
Oh, it was.
And we got up the next morning and we went out there to what Murdoch Gun Club.
Yeah.
What is Murdoch? You knew more about it than I did. And we actually hunted Butte. We actually hunted the creek, the femoral artery of Butte Sink.
Butte Creek. Yeah.
So right through their property.
Murdoch was a gun club, and it was owned by the Foraker family. And Andrew is a friend of mine, and he invited us up, and we hunted with his dad and Andrew and their cousin Deke. And it's no longer a gun club; it's just their family's club. Mm-hmm. And we hunted Butte Creek for wood ducks.
And I got to tell you, we parked the Rangers, crossed that little footbridge.
Yeah.
Walked under those valley oaks.
Yeah.
That their leaves don't look the same. They're growing on a different habitat. You know, live oaks back home grow on real sandy coastal soils. And these were a little sandy because on that creek bank, but it was a floodplain. You could see the watermark chest high.
Yeah, people run boats through there after heavy rain.
But in the dark, their form, the way they grow and sprawl out, looked a lot like live oaks. And we get up that little bitty bend in the creek that had a wide spot. And there were wood ducks trading around, and they had hunted in the wild. And, man, I had high hopes. Now, I didn't come to California to shoot a wood duck. I'm going to tell you right now. But I'm all in for shooting ducks. Number two, I love wood ducks. And that I just walking through those woods and getting to that little blind. Andrew and I got in one. You and Deke got in another. Eric, his daddy got in one down the road. We just kind of had it hemmed up from left, right, east, west. And but it's a it felt again very familiar. Like man, I'm hunting wood ducks. I mean, only here in California the limit's 7.
Yeah,
that's a deal.
Yeah,
and I think we shot one.
Yeah.
And the wind was howling. We all thought they were going to be in that little quiet spot. They weren't.
Yeah. I think the wind had a lot to do with it. We'd hunted there in November, Andrew and I, and they were so close. I was shooting 28 gauge Boss shot shells number 7 out of an improved cylinder, and I could have gone more open than that.
I bet.
When they worked that creek, I mean, remember that little hole, the way it was set up? When they come in and commit, I mean, they're right there.
More than duck hunting, get ducks is the lifestyle we all enjoy. It really is always duck season somewhere. Check out our caps, t-shirts, hoodies, and more at our new GetDucks.com store. That's GetDucks.com/store. Thank you for listening to and for supporting this podcast. And remember, life's short, get ducks. And there's hundreds, thousands of wood duck boxes. In fact, when I met with Brian Huber, California Waterfowl Association, he told me about their wood duck nest box program, and they are approaching the 1,000,000th wood duck produced from California Waterfowl Association wood duck program. That's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's a staggering number, isn't it?
But when we struck out on that wood duck hunt, for whatever reason, they weren't there. We walked back to the Ranger 5 minutes, drove 2 or 3 minutes out to one of the rice fields and hopped in that rice. It was 9 o'clock, 9:30. Pintails galore.
Yep.
And
we weren't in there but about 5 minutes before we had our pintails.
Boom, boom. We had our pintails.
Yep.
I'm thinking, all right, well, we didn't get skunked today. We got a pintail limit for California.
You might have been thinking about a burrito already.
I was thinking about a burrito already. I was starting to think about one. The wind was howling.
Yeah.
We were there late, and I just didn't feel it. I didn't feel it. Very, very gracious to be there in that field. But then next thing I know, boom, I got a shovel. All right, well, I got 2. And after about an hour, I was one or so away, chipping away, and you said, well, we'll leave. I said, no, we ain't. I'll sit here till dark. I ain't gonna leave one away.
That's right.
I mean, I'm this close. And you know what I remember most about that morning, and it's one of the most vivid memories of the last 2 weeks in California. I was sitting on 6 ducks, and I was one away. Could not shoot a pintail, and there were thousands.
Yeah.
I mean, dumb as a brick coming right in left, and you just something, a bald eagle went over a field down beneath us and got up thousands. It was like the Macy's Day Parade, but it was all pintails flying over 30 yards high. They were 30 yards to your right. They were me on the other side of the pit. They were 30 yards to my left, this wide column from 30 yards high to 70 yards high, just blips of them coming through. And I'm sitting there, pintail, shoveler, and one lone Ramzilla was flying right among, lollygagging along with a flock of pintail. I go, all right, there's duck number 7, bam. Passing up on beautiful pintails to shoot a shoveler because the limit's only 1.
That's right, yeah.
And I really had heard how many pintail there were in the Sac Valley of California, Brown Butte Sink and all, but I just didn't.
I really feel like that for people that want to experience a pintail hunt, they need to come to the Central Valley of California. You can shoot one, but the sight you're going to see is amazing. Along with the other waterfowl you'll be able to see and take. There's a lot of snow geese.
And and hunting with it was wow. Yeah, maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service will do something. Maybe Delta Waterfowl's right. Maybe we can sustain a 3 pintail limit. I mean, my gosh, it's 8 to 10 in Alaska, 6 to 8 in Canada next year.
Yeah.
15 in Mexico, 1 in the continental United States.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't hurt Mississippians.
Right.
The bag limit on pintail doesn't affect Mississippi, Tennessee, like it does out west here. That has got to be one of y'all's principal species in terms of just sheer abundance.
Especially in the Sac Valley.
Especially in that rice.
Yeah.
It's a good eating duck. So many people we've met with out here in California talk about the 10-point days, their dad or their granddad targeting pintails only.
Well, we're sitting here in the grasslands at, this, when you look around, you've seen the habitat here. There's big sheet water everywhere, right?
Unbelievable.
And those were all developed back in the point system days, right? And these guys were shooting
10-point ducks.
Exactly. They shot 7 pintails.
One of the coolest stories, speaking of pintails, one of the coolest stories I heard, it was Grant Tarkey talking about his granddad. And that was Grant's probably 23 years old. And his dad taught him everything he knows about duck hunting. His granddad, and he just real tight family. A lot of family stories, a lot of family history. You talk about that property of his, and it's like, it used to be in rice, and they took it out of rice because they were fighting the ducks. And when Butte Creek would flood, and it often did, it would flood their crops, and then they'd lose a lot of crops to depredation of ducks.
Yeah.
And so they decided, well, to heck with fighting ducks, we'll just make it a waterfowl area. So they went back to ducks. And, he'll point to some willow trees down there. My dad planted those 20 years ago, or we're sitting in a duck blind his dad built 30 years ago, or something his granddad did. And he was telling me that his granddad's favorite duck was a pintail, and that the last duck he ever shot was a banded draped pintail.
How fitting is that?
Said, yeah, and she said, they probably would have mounted the bird, but nobody knew it was his last duck.
Yeah.
But that's kind of fitting, isn't it? And I just thought about that. I'd kind of forgotten that story till we started talking about pintails out here in California. And then, speaking of wood ducks, the very next day I went and hunted with Brian Huber and Brad Hulbert, and we went to Butte Creek Farms.
Yeah. And
targeted wood ducks again.
I've hunted that club, not for wood ducks, but that's a beautiful club.
Beautiful club, beautiful property, incredible. And we shot some wood ducks, and it was just. Man, that's when he was telling me that story. We recorded a podcast, but he was telling me that story about 1 million wood ducks produced.
Yeah, that's amazing.
In about the last decade. And it made me think, I know a lot of people on social media were hitting up saying, maybe more people around Louisiana, Mississippi. And I'm like, man, I think that from what I've seen out here, for what a wood duck means to folks in the Deep South, man, everybody ought to have maintained wood duck boxes.
Yeah.
I want to go home and talk to our duck committee and say, hey, I think we need to double up on the wood duck boxes and have a committee to come service them, because we could be producing a lot more ducks right here in our backyard.
Yeah.
And if everybody did that, there would be a pile of them. It worked. It worked out here because we're not in classical wood duck habitat. But there seems to be a whole lot of them in the state of California because of that nest box program.
Yeah, and I would think it was typical wood duck habitat before a lot of the rice fields were put in the Butte Sink. I mean, you got a taste of what the Butte Sink used to look like.
I sure did.
And all the oak trees, and I mean, that's a big floodplain there with. It's probably beautiful wood duck habitat.
And we went back out with the White brothers.
Yeah.
And the birds threw a curveball. We targeted specks, and we shot specks.
We did.
But it was tough. It's like something happened. We set up on an area that they had been seeing mostly specks and a lot of snows feeding on these hay rows for 3 days straight. We get there, they didn't want to play. But they were real scattered out. They were hitting here, there, yonder, all which ways. And they just didn't want it. Some days you're on the X, some days you're between the F and U, and ain't nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
And they called an audible. And back we go to that old camp house. And that may be one of my favorite meals I ate too. That was certainly one of the top 2 favorite meals I had the entire time in California, was when they put together Jonathan's gumbo. Right out there over the burner.
That's right. That was awesome. And we'll talk a little bit about the gumbo. I mean,
talk about
you shot a couple specks that ended up in that gumbo.
I sure did. Well, we had one snow.
Then the snow was in there too.
Shot a pair of specks. It just passed you, but it worked. Bam, bam. And while he was cooking the
linguiça, yeah, he was cooking the linguiça, and I was cubing speck and snow.
Linguiça, a Portugal sausage I'd never heard of, never seen, never tasted it, but it's a big thing out here in California. Who knew there was a big Portuguese heritage? I didn't.
Yeah.
And he started putting together, and you breasted those geese out, and we browned them. We browned some bay prawns. He had some oysters.
And I don't think Dylan and I have a future in shrimp peeling.
No, you do not have a future in shrimp peeling. I don't know where y'all learned to peel shrimp, but that's nothing that a couple of good shrimp boils won't fix. Because you'll either starve to death or you'll learn to peel shrimp quick. And I've had practice on that. That probably shellfish is probably my favorite food group. And but yeah, it's man, what a great meal that was. And then we actually went back out that afternoon and brought home some specs.
Yeah,
not a ton of them, but that was a good hunt.
Yeah, it was great.
You know, it was.
And I thought it was pretty cool to be on the same ranch that they grew up on.
I did too. You know, when
a lot of family history there.
Exactly. Well, you know, they were sitting there hunting that morning, and because in between the volleys was pretty lengthy that day, watching those geese fly over, they pointed and showed us the house they grew up in, and then right there at that old camp house, they talked about growing up there, shooting squirrels, shooting rabbits, catching frogs.
And it was easy to picture while they were sitting there talking about it. I could just imagine how fun that would have been. Two brothers growing up on this farm. Yep. You know, he said his mom would only let him go to that first road where she could see him, and they'd be out there with their BB guns shooting squirrels. And
yeah,
you know, I'm sure fighting here and there as brothers do, but what a great childhood that.
Yeah,
probably led to their love for hunting, and their dad was a duck hunter.
None of us go out to hunt just to watch the sunrise. It's beautiful, whether it's over the Sutter Butte or San Francisco Bay or your favorite beaver pond in Mississippi or Cypress Break. None of us out there just watch sunrise. We want to shoot birds. But you know, when I think back to the whole context of duck hunting, I don't care if you're all the way halfway across the world in Azerbaijan, at King Eider Camp down in Argentina, here in California, home in Mississippi, it's people and it's food and it's stories and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and that day, you know, we kind of sort of knew each other. We all hit it off on the first day, but you know, sitting around that old camp house, sitting around with that burner going, just telling stories and ball busting and cracking jokes and watching y'all peel shrimp and him cooking and us just doing our thing. Man, you want to get to know folks, eat with them,
yeah,
cook with them. You know, hunting is easy. It's all the in between parts of the trigger pull. I think that I really I know I slept good that night. That was such a good time. And
it was. That was a great hunt. I enjoyed our time with the White brothers. They're two great guys. They're super easy to get to know. I mean, I felt like after the first day, I felt like we'd all known each other forever.
I feel like we're going to be friends a long time. I know they're going to come down to Mississippi. I'm going to get them a Doe's Eat place. You know what? I think I just made up my mind. If you and them especially come down there together, we're going to have a shrimp bowl, maybe a crawfish bowl.
Hey, I'm sure that the White brothers and I would love to come join you, but Dylan and I don't make us peel the shrimp.
Y'all going to be hungry, that's all I can say. What we do, we'll have a crawfish bowl, and we'll put the shrimp on top, so we'll have shrimp and crawfish. Do you know how to peel a crawfish any quicker?
I guess we're going to find out.
Oh, Lordy. Y'all going to starve to death.
I don't think I'm going to starve.
They take goose hunting to such a high level.
Yeah.
And enjoyed having them on the podcast. Going to have them back on next time.
Yeah.
And they've elevated it to such a high level. But
yeah, it's amazing.
Perfect segue into yesterday's hunt. Right about the time you think you've seen and done it all.
Yeah.
You go to
Mendota,
California, wildlife area. So don't sleep in at 3:30. Oh, heck no. Set your alarm for 2:30. We got to leave early.
And we had a reservation.
What is it, up by San Francisco to back up Yuba City? No, it's 45 minutes away.
Well,
I'm like, well, John, don't get shooting time till 6:50. I know. I'll see you at 3.
You thought maybe they were going to be spotlighting ducks or something in the dark, didn't you? When I told you 2:30,
I didn't know what to do. I mean, I cut my teeth hunting public land in Mississippi.
Yeah,
and but that it's been a long time since I hunted public land back home. But that did not prepare me for the circus. That, you know, you and I are talking, trotting along, heading up the highway. We're going. It's pitch black dark. We're out in farm country, California.
Yep. In between the 99 and the I-5.
And if we start getting close, up ahead, it looks like a rock concert let out, and there's just bumper-to-bumper traffic of headlights and taillights. I'm like, what's going on up there? That's the line. I go, what? I mean, it was 4 in the morning, 2.5 hours before shooting time.
Yeah.
And somebody was saying they saw a buddy of theirs or something on social media that had been sitting in that line since 10 the night before.
Correct. So because of COVID, you can't be on the refuge between 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. So what guys have started doing, well, let me back up for a second. So Mendota has 100 reservations. And if you have a reservation, your number is what it is. So if you're number 3, you just pull into the parking lot, spot number 3. But for the sweat line, it's first come, first serve.
That line was a mile long.
Yeah, and people used to get in that line, like late in the year like this, you'd see guys on a Wednesday, they'd leave their truck in the line on Thursday or Wednesday night for Saturday. And because of COVID, they can't camp. So what they're doing is they're lining up on the side of the road the day before and sleeping in their trucks. And then when they open the gate to the refuge at 3 a.m., they pull in. And I saw online where a guy showed up at 10 p.m. the night before to park on the side of the road, and he had 50 trucks in front of him.
50 trucks.
Yeah.
How many acres is Mendota?
It's about 12,000.
And how 12,000 huntable acres or 12,000 total?
12,000 total.
How big is the sanctuary?
I don't know.
A couple thousand maybe?
Probably not even that big. But what's unique about Mendota is when that place was created, there was private landowners inside that had duck clubs that didn't want to sell. So inside the refuge is actually a few private duck clubs. Mm-hmm. So there's those in the refuge. I'm not sure what acreage that takes up. And they have upland habitat out there. There's dove hunting there. But there's 22 parking lots, so there's a lot. But maximum capacity, I believe, is 600. I think with COVID, they've maybe knocked it down to 400. I'm not quite sure on that number, but
you picked me up at 3. I'm gonna say we parked in Unit 6 at 4.
Yeah.
Very quickly got on a waiter, said hello to some folks you knew, blah blah blah, and you said, "All right, get your license and all your paperwork together." It's like walking in with a stack of papers, like I'm fixing to go sign a mortgage. And we stop at the check station, walk up, and I need to see this. 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 Of course, it's California. Governor Gavin don't believe in citizenship card and nothing important like that. So we just showed him all the necessary hunting paperwork. It gives us a yellow hall pass, and off we go.
Yep.
And drove along miles down that dirt road.
It's a big refuge.
Hey, man, you're chatting and cutting up. Man, for the 2 hours we've been together, you've been giving me the whole synopsis on public land hunting, about growing up, hunting with Josh, hunting with Josh's daddy.
Yeah.
And I see my parking place up ahead. Nope, that guy turned good. Now that guy turned too. Good. We were the first person in that little side parking area.
Yep.
And you put the car in park. And you didn't say goodbye, kiss my ass, beep, beep. Next thing I know, you gone. Boom, like, just gone. And you'd already told me now, you're going to come in with Josh. I'm going to haul butt. I don't know how it is the biggest man out of 3 folks was a runner.
The biggest guy at the reservation.
You sure left that truck pretty dang. I thought the truck might have been on fire the way you left it. And you were gone. I mean, by the time I stepped out and walked around, I couldn't even see you. You were gone. Couldn't even see your headlight.
About 20 minutes before shoot time, you realized why I went running.
Yes, I did. Josh and I loaded up the cart.
What was that levee like with a little bit of rain on it?
It was like Wop biscuit dough. It was so sticky. It was sticky. It's like I'm 5'11", and so I varied from 5'11" to 6.5 feet. And the whole walk in. And then we ditched the pull behind cart, whatever that was, and took the sled off. That's where all the gear was. Started sledding out across that water.
Yeah.
That was slippery. And I was like, boy, do I need my walking stick right now. And that was a pretty good haul, man. I'm going to say 200 or 300 yards across that water to that little, and that was y'all's little spot. Y'all have had some great hunts there this year.
Yeah, the last couple of weeks we hunted there.
Smoking them.
Yeah, we had a real good shoot there, 4 of us, a couple of weeks ago, and then Josh went there Wednesday. Check it out for us.
I'm gonna say, and I don't know, it's hard to say out here in this flat country, but I'm gonna say that quote pond, that the whole refuge is a marsh.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say that pond, that little open water, ankle deep, acre to mid-shin deep. I'm gonna say it was 60 acres. We're
Yeah,
the first people
Swamp
there.
Timothy unit.
And I get to my, I put my seat down. I sit down. I look at my watch. We got an hour and 20 minutes to go till shooting time. I'm like, well, we're here early enough. Oh boy, people started coming in from all directions. At times, it was like looking at a Metallica concert with all the light beams cutting through outer space. I'm like, my goodness, they were coming over that levee over here behind us. I see you, yeah, and coming in, of course, y'all, the strategy, spread out.
Yeah.
Spread out, wave people off like there's already a lot of people in there, and
that's right.
That was an event, and then when it started,
kind of like you were in the Alamo.
Kind of like I was in the Alamo, and speaking of Alamo, it when shooting time came, it sounded like the Alamo. It actually sounded like a Taliban firing practice over there on that firing line. They called it. It was a big, long, mile-long Chinese firecracker string somebody lit, and it was shots everywhere.
Yeah.
And
when the hunting's good, it's 10 times that.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
I remember you talking about how much shooting there was, and Josh and I are going, no, man, this is slow.
You see a lot of things when you hunt public land anywhere. You sky busting.
Yeah.
We saw some yesterday.
Well, when you're limited to 25 shells, it's funny to me how high people are willing to shoot. I believe it's a $50 fine per shell that you're over if you.
When we're like that, when we're like limited to 25 shells, shooting primarily teal, whatnot like that, I'm not. There are times I will dial in at further distances, but I'm not shooting at nothing past 40 yards.
And probably not a third shot.
No.
Right? I mean, a lot of times you're taking 1 to 2.
But in all fairness, there was that one team kind of, if I was looking at noon, these guys were around 2 o'clock. There was a guy over there that I'd say his average shot was 70 yards, and I'd say that 70 to 80% of the time something failed.
No, yeah, he
was knocking them out.
But
then there was that team behind me that came in real late, and we just let some birds go as being high.
Yeah,
and them two boys lit into them, and I don't know who was more surprised something fell, me, you, them, or the duck.
Yeah.
But something did fall, and that's what the guy said. What was it? And the guy said, I don't know. Mallard or cinnamon tail won. I'm like.
Because those two look alike,
Yeah, they look so much alike. I'm like, but wow. And we never did hear. I would, if I had to guess, it was a shoveler. And
yeah, my guess is it was neither.
Yeah, or a coot.
Yeah.
But I tell you, that hunt on that place, here's what I walk away from. As Josh and I were walking in, he was telling me he'd been hunting there since he was 10 years old.
Yeah.
He's your age.
Yeah.
So he's been hunting there for nearly 3 decades. His dad still hunts there.
Yeah, he was there that day, not with us. But
I didn't get to meet his dad, but I'm gonna bet his dad is my age or a little older.
Yeah, he's 60.
Okay, so he's been hunting there for many decades.
Yeah.
And still does.
Yeah.
And
a lot.
And I know that, it's so funny how in the pitch black dark, walking to your blind or driving out through the gate, it was every man for himself, arch enemies.
Oh, yeah.
Arch rivals. But back at the boat ramp, or the parking lot, at the truck, man, everybody was smiling, everybody was friendly, everybody was telling stories. They were the friendliest people you ever met.
Yeah.
We'd be like we were walking in that afternoon, going to check out another little spot, try to finish our limits. And we're meeting people on the way out that would stop, talk to you, how they did, how they didn't do. Just as friendly as can be. And guys, good and well have been hunting there their whole lives.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, and we saw push carts, we saw sleds, we saw e-bikes, we saw bicycles, we saw
a wagon,
people with running shoes, somebody pulling a wagon. I mean, backpacks.
Yeah.
It's all foot traffic. Ain't no ATVs.
There's a lot of people with some custom-made carts, sleds, backpacks, you name it.
That have been around, and
but you can see hoofing it around 12,000 acres. I mean, these guys are going to do anything they can to make it easier on themselves.
Some of these boat blinds, some of these field hunts I've been on, some of these places you hunt, you can bring whatever you want to bring. But buddy, when you're hunting like these guys are hunting, you're down to the bare minimum. It's like it's like packing for a sheep hunt.
Yeah.
No ounce to spare.
No, that's like when I've been talking with JJ Gustafon over at Lifetime Decoys, and they'd come out with some new decoys this year. The widgeon we were using.
Yesterday was the first time I've seen them online.
Yeah.
But, remember we went to move those decoys, and I said, man, what kind of widgeons are these?
Lifetimes.
They're the most beautiful things I've ever seen.
Yeah, and for a refuge hunter, my favorite part about that was they have two weights. They have a double keel that comes down with removable weights. And so you pull those weights out. I weighed my decoy, and it weighed 13.9 ounces. And that's really light. So, I mean, you could carry a dozen of those things like nothing. But what else I like about the removable weight is, A, the weight for carrying them out there. But, B, we don't have a lot of wind typically down here. I mean, a big wind for us would be 10 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. And with no way to keel, those things really get some nice movement in, 3-4 mile an hour wind.
Mm-hmm. And but I'm gonna say this about California public land hunters. Somebody wrote me, posted up a thing on Instagram, and somebody inboxed me. And he wasn't being ugly because he introduced himself as a refuge rat himself.
Yeah.
He said, it can bring out the worst of people. And I wrote him back and said, I can see that.
Yeah.
But it also brings out the best in people. Look, I am telling you, I've always said this as a daddy. I always wanted, my kids grew up in a camp, and we're not a great camp, but in terms of duck numbers, the Deep South is getting real tough. But growing up, cutting my teeth, learning to duck hunt on public made me a better hunter.
Yeah, for sure.
It made me a better hunter.
Yeah.
It's competitive. You've got to bring the game. And I'm gonna say this about what I now appreciate, that I could not say this 2 weeks ago, like I'm about to say it, but you see these guys going somewhere like Mendota, they're coming out with ducks or limits regularly. Man, those guys could go anywhere and kill ducks.
Yeah.
Those guys are playing. You have got to be dedicated.
Sure.
You've got to be committed, and you've got to be good.
Yeah.
To hunt like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think guys that do it right on public land, they've perfected the art of duck hunting. They're not out of.
They have.
Yeah, because there's no blind in Mendota. It's 100% free roam, so you got to scout. You got to find the tule patch that the birds are working in the right pond, or, Josh keeps notes about wind directions and when we've shot good in a north wind, south wind, cold rain, whatever. Guys got to remember that kind of stuff. And I think the biggest thing about public land that differs from, maybe some other types of waterfowl hunting, maybe, like a club and a blind, where where the good blinds are, and sure, you need to know the good wind and all that. But Mendota, as you saw, I mean, the amount of people that show up in your pond can totally change the flight pattern in that pond.
Yeah.
And it's different, but the hide has got to be good. They got to perfect the art of duck hunting to do well day in and day out on public land.
You've got to perfect the art. That's a good way of putting it, John. But so many people we talked to yesterday at the boat ramp, people you knew, people we just met.
Yeah.
I keep saying a boat ramp, you know what I mean? That parking area.
Yeah.
They were talking about where did all the ducks go overnight.
Yeah.
It's like they just disappeared. And I just felt like yesterday by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, every single duck on that 12,000 acres had been shot at least once.
Yeah, and when we drove through that closed zone, it was amazing how empty it was.
It was empty.
There was no ducks in there.
And it's usually packed, isn't it?
Yeah, in the last, little while, it had been really good.
Yeah, but that was an eye opener, and it just, I tell you what, my hat's off to the guys on California public land that are getting out and doing that, sleeping in their trucks, and I guess public land everywhere too.
Yeah.
But man, they are bringing an absolute A game, and you see these young kids that don't know the difference in a mallard and a cinnamon teal or whatnot like that, but buddy, they're guys that do know the difference, and they are all in.
Oh yeah.
And playing a tough game. Getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning and going through that sweat line. And I talked to somebody in social media, got up at 2 in the morning, left his house, it wasn't his turn to go onto that property until 1 p.m. hunted till dark. Come out.
Yeah, they got to do the lottery the night before.
Come out with 5 or 6 ducks, almost the limit.
Yeah.
Went back home. It was 8:45 at night. 2 o'clock in the morning, his alarm goes off. He's going right back after it.
Yeah.
Man, that is a passion that you can't help but respect.
And that's for people that don't live here or haven't experienced California hunting. That's how a majority of the people, that's their version of duck hunting in the state of California. That's what they do. California has a lot of refuges, both federal and state, and that's, they vary from rules. Some have a lottery the night before, but that's pretty much how it goes.
California's a big state, and
Yeah.
I just scratched the surface out here. We've already talked about a repeat trip, and
Yeah.
I know I want to go back there. I know there's some other areas I want to go back. We've talked to some other people, and there's a whole lot of state that I hadn't even seen yet. Way
Yeah.
up north, back down to the Salton Sea, down to San Diego. There's a lot of cool areas out here to duck hunt.
Yeah, San Jacinto down by Mexico. It's California has such diverse habitat, as I'm sure other big states do, but, from the northeastern California up near the Oregon border, you go over to Humboldt Bay, down
There's
through
another
the
one,
Sac
Humboldt.
Valley. Yeah, the Bay, the Sacramento Valley, San Joaquin Valley, just all the way down to Mexico. It's
Bring it full
very
circle.
diverse habitat.
Bring it full circle. Our final morning, we get up, we
Yeah.
come to your camp.
Yep.
You didn't have a great draw,
Nope.
but you said it doesn't matter. Nobody likes to go where we're going to go hunt.
That's right. They always tease me. They all know where I'm going.
And what's your favorite species, John?
Probably a cinnamon teal.
Yeah, and that's what we went for.
Yeah.
And
I didn't realize they were such a big deal until I started meeting people from other states, and I guess we're fortunate to have good numbers of them here.
I think they're a very beautiful bird.
Yeah, I do too.
I would not say they're my favorite North American species, but at the same time, I maybe they are. I think they're a very, very beautiful bird.
I think they're beautiful. I think widgeon are up there for me too. I think widgeon are beautiful. I love the way they sound. I love the way they work. Watching them in flight. Pintail courtship flights are also beautiful. I mean, there's something I can appreciate about every bird.
Oh, that's what I was just fixing to say.
But
Yep.
part of the reason I like teal hunting, cinnamon teal hunting, something you touched on this morning when you asked me, you like this real tight cattail marsh, don't you? And I go, yeah, this is it. If I could hunt one place, I'd like to stand in the tules in a small hole. That's what I like. I'm not a big water hunter. I love
that,
the,
and that's
the
exactly.
tule
See,
marsh.
that's just it. That is why cinnamon teal are not found throughout. You're not going to find them in the cornfields. You're not going to find them in the rice fields. You're not going to find them in a lot of the habitats in a lot of places I hunt. They have a very, to me, a very defined preference for habitat.
Yeah.
Marsh.
Yeah.
Rank. And I'd almost, people say, oh, shelters are trash ducks. Oh, yeah.
Never shot a cinnamon teal.
Let me introduce you to their first cousin, the cinnamon teal.
Yeah.
Because those guys, they want a mucky, nasty, rank bottom.
Well, why don't you touch on the teal trifecta, right? That's why it should be the spoonie, the blue wing, and the cinnamon, right?
It really should be,
Yeah, not the green wing.
No,
I did shoot a green wing, a blue wing, and a cinnamon, all drakes here last year at the blind we hunted in this morning. But yeah, I mean the real trifecta should be the shoveler, the cinnamon, and the blue wing.
the teal trifecta is a beautiful mount.
Oh yeah,
It's a holy grail if you're going to go to Mexico, especially.
yeah. A lot of your
doable.
clients, that's what they're going for,
They
right?
want that teal trifecta. It is, but I've come to the opinion that a better trio of birds, especially in a dead mount, would be a blue wing, a cinnamon, and a shoveler.
Yeah,
They've all got very similar wings because they're all in the same genus. Blue wings and cinnamon teal are in the spatula genus, which is what they now call the shoveler.
yeah.
There's also other birds like the gargany and some different stuff that around the world, but they're in that genus.
And if you look at the bill of a cinnamon or a blue wing, you can tell. I mean, it has some similarities to a shoveler. It's very different than the green wing.
That's exactly right. We got into a conversation. We got into a conversation in social media how to tell the difference in molt, basic plumage cinnamons versus blue wings, like September.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know. All I knew was that an adult drake would have a red eye, and got to talking to some of these biologists that were sending me pictures of the bill. And once you see these cinnamon teal bills, they are a little more spatulate than even a blue wing.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like the middle ground between a shoveler and a blue wing is that cinnamon teal bill. They really are a little spatulate. Yeah. And but anyway, hey, we shot a spectacular green wing this morning. This morning was slow.
Yeah,
it was slow, John.
Oh,
you knew it was. I mean, we could tell just because there were 3 or 4 or 5 blinds.
Yeah.
On your club shooting, and we couldn't really hear a lot of shooting.
Or around us.
Or around us, and looking up in the sky. Yeah. I don't know what the shots I did hear around the marsh were shooting at, but I couldn't see duck to speak of.
Yeah, probably similar to what we were shooting at,
And I'm going to say we saw a couple of dozen birds all morning.
Yeah.
And first was a green wing as we put out decoy. Second was a green wing as we were doing something else. Third or fourth, you had told me, said, man, the cinnamon's going to come right down these tulies, right down this cut.
Yeah, because they like those, people looking for cinnamons, they love those big, deep, tight channels.
And they're about 8 o'clock.
Yeah, they fly a little later, too. They're not necessarily a first light duck like those green.
They're about 8 o'clock off to my left, just above those tall tulies in front of me. I saw a duck coming, and it turned out to be a cinnamon.
Right above the top of the tulies.
And had he kept on coming at me, I'd have got a shot, but he didn't. He banked, cut, kind of worked that hole away from us, 45 yards maybe, and went and landed and couldn't do nothing with him. And, okay. So after a little bit, all half dozen birds we'd seen had kind of come over that point out there in front of us. So we picked up the dozen decoys we had and scattered them about and moved. And what was it, 10 o'clock? 10 o'clock. We shot a few other ducks. We shot that green wing, having a great visit, solving world problems.
That's right.
And you said they're the pair of cinnamons.
Yep.
And I looked up. Now, how far were
they?
They weren't coming into no decoys.
No, I'm going to say 35.
35 yards.
Yeah.
Straight as an arrow.
Yep.
It gave me a pass by.
They did. You hammered that drake.
And I shot that drake. It fell, and I sent Char, and I thought you were going to beat her to it.
Well, Ramsey, you came out here to shoot a cinnamon teal,
I've shot.
You haven't seen me run that fast since I got out of the truck in Mendota.
I didn't know, now I know why you got to that hole so quick in Mendota. I didn't know a big old boy like you could move that quick, John. I ain't going to lie to you.
I was sucking wind.
You burrito powered.
That's right.
And, I've shot cinnamons in Argentina. I've shot cinnamons Utah, Texas, tons of them down in Mexico. Peru is an anomaly. It's a lot of, down where you hunt them near those rice fields, it's not the rice they're in, it's those marshes and those channels that they're pulling water out to irrigate that rice. Muck, nasty, rank marsh habitat.
I remember seeing that on a Mojo TV show. Down there.
Yeah, but I have never.
And it looked like here. It reminded me of home.
It did. Well, that's what
if I could have just seen those snapshots of a Mojo, you guys down there shooting those cinnamon teal, that could have been Mendota. That could have been Stillbow. It looked just like.
But see, here, Argentina, throughout the United States, where you see cinnamon teal, how you see cinnamon teal, no matter where you go in all the North America, I see them in singles, pairs, little family cohorts. You go down the coast of Peru, and there's big flocks, like just imagine a 50-pack.
Yeah, I've never seen that many here. I've shot into flocks of probably a dozen.
That's what I'd call a family cohort.
Yeah, that's big for here. A lot of times they're pairs, singles, threes and fours. And
then so that was it. It was mission accomplished. When Char brought that nice little handsome cinnamon teal in, that was mission accomplished.
Yep.
And then we shot 4 more coming out.
That's right. Yeah, we ended the day with 4 cinnamons.
Yeah, and so that was a huge plus. And we could have. I mean, the weather's changed now. We said if the weather changed, we might go back out this evening. The weather. I'm looking out the window here of the camp house, and it's cloudy. It's different. Yeah. Windy.
You can see the wind blowing outside a little bit.
But I'm mission accomplished, man. We shot some good quality ducks today.
Yeah.
John, I got to say this. All week long, you've been blowing that pintail whistle. It's a good sounding pintail whistle. It doesn't look like any whistle I've ever seen.
No, it looks like a mini mallard call almost. Huh?
And he's your caretaker.
He is, yeah. Matt Pierce game calls. And I met Matt About the time I started duck hunting, I bought a whistle from him. He was not the caretaker here at the time, so I went to his house, and I was new to hunting and picked out a whistle, and he really took his time to show me how to use it. Those pintail whistles do a lot more than pintails. Yeah, there you go.
It's a really, really good sounding whistle.
Yeah, I mean, it does teal, wood duck, Drake mallard, gadwall, widgeon.
It extends in and out.
Yeah, yeah. You
teal,
pull
when
it
it's
in and out.
you pull it out to that first ring, get the pintail, push it in, pull it out a little bit further, you get like a real quiet, deep pintail.
And he makes them by hand. He's carving them in his garage.
100% made by hand.
Yeah, mine's it's as old as, I don't know, whenever I started duck hunting, it's coachable. It still looks great. And, hunters here, they'll use those.
What was how would you compare my experience here the last 2 weeks in California with normal late January California duck hunting?
The opposite of normal. It's been really tough.
Yeah.
Really tough.
Yeah.
Even in the day we were with Scott, he talked about how fast they were done, like the day or two before.
Yeah.
It was like a 30-minute shoot. And here in the South Grasslands, or in the grasslands anywhere, a typical January, you got the big water, you got pintail, widgeon. In the marsh we're hunting today, cinnamons and green wings. We get huge flocks of green wings here. And, yeah, they're gone.
Mm-hmm. I don't know where they went. Mexico, I hope. Come there next week.
Yeah, that's right. I know you're heading to Mexico.
There's been a big north wind. Maybe they did push down to Mexico finally.
Yeah.
That would be that's an upshot I hadn't thought about. It's been a grind. It's been an amazing hunt.
But guys like you that hunt a lot, and guys like every hunter that hunts a lot, we ride that roller coaster, right?
You ride that roller coaster. You never know what the next duck, the next day, the next morning is going to bring.
That's why you got to go.
And I'm all in.
You've been in that marsh in mid-November when you think nothing's going to happen, but there's some small weather system that moves them in, and you get one or two good shoot days on those fresh ducks, and you don't know unless you go. No, and I'm not going to be at home waiting to hear from everybody else how they shot ducks. I'm going to go just in case that happens.
You don't know unless you go. Forrest sent some pictures the last couple of days. It was very discouraging. When I left Mississippi a few weeks ago, he sent me some pictures today. The last few days hunting Mississippi Public, they've had some really good hunts. Mallards, gadwalls, in your face, decoying.
I saw that on his Instagram.
He even shot a banded bird this morning, so they've had a really good time. But for me anymore, John, I want to shoot ducks. I have shot plenty of birds out here, geese, specks. I've shot snows, Aleutians, which was a huge treat.
I shot my first blue goose.
Your first blue goose?
28 gauge, Boss Force with the White Brothers.
Here we got 2,000 geese milling around, buzzing around. Somebody spots a blue. John needs to shoot a blue, so we wait. And I'm like, what's the big deal? But that is a big deal out here. Blue geese aren't prevalent out this far west.
No, I've never been on a hunt that's killed one. Now,
I would say I've shot as many blue geese as white geese. To me, it's almost like 50-50.
Yeah, and there's more of them in California than have been in the past. Kind of like blue-winged teal, we're starting to get more of those. And the goose hunters, in Sac Valley, they've killed blues. But you see the type of habitat we're hunting down here. I'm a duck hunter.
Mm-hmm.
But
you're not a guide.
No.
And I know since you've been my friend and my host and my guide, my tour guide, my eyes and ears here in California, I know you got a bunch of inboxes wanting to go on guided hunts. You ain't a guide, are you?
Nope, not a guide. No.
You don't want to be a guide, do you?
I don't.
You don't want people to call you and want to go guided hunts, do you?
No, but I could recommend some good ones, but not. I'm not a guide, no. I get a lot of inboxes about shooting cinnamon teal.
When does your season end here in California?
January 31st.
We're getting to the tail end.
Yep. 1 week from today.
Yeah. Yep. And you're going to stick it out and go with it?
I'm going with it. I'll be back here.
Yeah. God willing and the creek don't rise, I'll see you down in Argentina at Rio Salado.
That's right.
I'm sure I'll talk to you for then, John.
Yeah.
John, thank you.
We might sneak in a spring snow goose hunt. You never know. Or a spring goose hunt.
Well, I'll tell you this now, since you mentioned it, I'm going to be home first 2 weeks of February, and I'm I've got some work to do, unfortunately. I've got like real, honest to God, sit at the office, hate life work to do. But I do intend to crank up that dirty white truck and head north and catch some snow geese.
That's right.
Matthew Peel, Dirty Bird Outfitters, some other associates.
Yeah.
I plan on catching some snow geese this year. You know,
That's right.
I've got a super tight choke. I'm ready in some bigger ball shot size. Some number twos. I want to go bang up on some geese.
So you're going to be calling Brandon asking for those big shells.
Well, there you go, man.
That's right.
There you go.
And I'm looking forward to jumping in the marsh with you and Rio.
We're going to have a great time, and I think that's going to happen. I sure hope it does, John.
Yeah, I think so,
It's
too.
COVID. My only complaint about coming to California was just darn COVID. It really, really kind of kicked us in the cojones coming out here. But it wasn't bad. We persevered and we had a good time, didn't we?
We did. It was great, and I'm looking forward to doing it again. And
we're going to do it again.
I had a heck of a time. I'm glad you came out. Thanks for coming.
No, thank you for your hospitality. Thank you for
Anytime.
your friendship. And, John, you're a heck of a tour guide, and I really appreciate you.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, thank you for coming.
Folks, y'all been listening to my buddy at Jon Wills on Instagram. He ain't a guide. He's just my buddy. California's been an amazing place. It is duck season somewhere. And California was epic. You know, I'd heard about it for years. I'd seen reports in chat rooms and got a lot of clients from California that are all serious duck hunters. And to a person, the people I hunted with, the people I shared time with, the people I ate burritos with, the people I grilled ducks and made gumbo and shared a lot of truck time and stories with the last few weeks, the people I met at public parking areas that I met out in the marsh, it's been nothing short of amazing. There is an incredible duck hunting history out here. A lot of conservation work going on out here. It's really pretty amazing to have so many people and the political reputation that it has. It was very, very reassuring to flip off the political propaganda machine of television and Facebook and just come out here and meet people in what I perceive as still being real America right out here in Northern California. Folks, thanks y'all for listening to Duck Season Somewhere. See you next time.